All right, so we're going to continue and talk about carols, mainly the dark ones. Today I have on my Rudolph outfit. It's an attempt. It's an attempt in the Rudolph outfit. Is my wig straight? If it's not, oh well. But anyways, we're going to talk about the story of the Huron Carol. Sorry, I paused on that. So a little background on actually the person who will write the Huron Carol. So his name was Jean de Brebeuf, and he was born in March 1593 in Normandy, France. He was actually a French Jesuit missionary who would travel to New France, which is Canada, in 1625. Specifically, he would come to Quebec. He worked mainly with the Huron, also known as the Wendat people, for the majority of his life. He was actually in New Canada for 20 years, except for I think it was like 2 or 3 years, and I believe he went back to France. But he would learn the language of the Wendat or Huron people and their culture, and he would write about the Huron or Wendat to help with other missionaries coming to New France. So now let's talk about who the Huron people are before we go into this story, because I also don't want it to seem like they're these horrible people, because there was an article that I read that was like, yeah, and then they murdered him, or they just like kind of brush over who they are. So I'll give you a little bit of information about who the Wendat or Huron people are. So they actually call themselves the Wendat people, and this is along with parallels in their creation myth, meaning inhabitants of the island. So they came from an island. At the start of the contact period, Samuel de Champlain called the semi-sedentary people Huron. And this is in reference to, I actually have my notes on my phone here. In reference to the hairstyle the warrior men wore, resembling the tuft of hair on a wild boar's head. For the purpose of, anyways, that is where we get that name from. And they basically live in southern Canada along what is now Lake Huron. So that's where we get the name. But now let's go on to the carol itself. So this is called the Huron Carol, or 'Twas in the Moon Winter Time. This is a Canadian Christmas hymn, obviously, and it was written again by Jean de Brebeuf, who was a Jesuit missionary at Sainte Marie among the Hurons in Canada. So he would write the lyrics in the native language of the Huron/Wendat people, and the song and melody is based on a traditional French folk song called Une jeune pucelle, a young maid. The song was intended to teach the local indigenous people about the birth of Jesus by incorporating elements of their own culture. So one example that I can remember off the top of my head is that instead of Jesus being wrapped in a cloth, he's wrapped in like a bear fur, and there's other things that he uses for the purpose of helping them to understand, what the creation story is, or not creation story, but the nativity story, basically. So the Hurons will tolerate his presence, but the Iroquois did not, especially since he was trying to convert the local tribes. So in 1649, he would be captured along with a few other missionaries and burned at the stake after they were ritualistically tortured. Allegedly, the torture mocked the baptism. I actually read an account, and it was gross. Like, y'all, it is. Usually I'm okay with like putting stuff on my channel that's, gruesome, but it's horrible, the stuff they do to this man. I will just say that they poured boiling hot water over him to mock the baptism, which is used with regular holy water. His blood would also be drank by the people in the tribe because they said he was so courageous that they wanted his courage, and that was their way. That was their belief, is that if they drank the blood of their I don't want to say enemy, but of someone that was courageous, or maybe that was courageous and an enemy, then they would basically embody that courage too. So like I said, there's more torture, but like I said, it's come on, it's Christmas. We're not gonna go there. So Jean de Brebeuf would gain sainthood following his death. And there are actually a lot of articles about him. There's one on the Jesuit website as to why he's a saint. There's a lot of information on the Huron Carol and its significance to Canadian, I guess you could say Canadian or Quebecan culture. This song was actually passed down in the Wendat or Huron tribe for years to come after his death, which is amazing. So he did make a pretty big mark on some of the people in this nation or in this group, and I thought that was interesting. But that is all I have for you on the Huron Carol, and I will see you on the next episode of Painted Haint. Merry Christmas.